Thank you, Orla. Today's apology is welcome, and it is decades overdue. It comes after decades of silence, decades of shame, decades of misogynistic control and abuse perpetuated and facilitated by state authorities, the church, and government after government after government. Ireland's history of using shame and fear to control women and their bodies is truly horrifying in its scale and impact. In 2018, I began knocking on doors for the abortion rights referendum in Cork South West. I didn't know what to expect, what kind of reception that we'd get. In every town and village came story after story after story. Women, often in their 70s and 80s, would stand outside and tell us about the girls and women who disappeared from their lives. Their best friend from school, their cousin, their aunt, abandoned, shamed, left at the mercy of the state and the church. On those same nights, we'd knock on another door to hear, but if this comes in, what'll stop the young ones? What'll stop them from sleeping around every weekend and getting an abortion every Monday? It's still here. It hasn't left us. The fear of girls and women and this desire to control their lives and their bodies. But this we narrative around this report needs to be addressed. Yes, society played a part, but this abuse was clearly facilitated and carried out by a powerful state and a powerful religious order who tolerated no opposition. This was a country that virtually outlawed sex outside of marriage. This was public policy. There was no sex education, a ban on contraception, no access to abortion, and virtual immunity for rapists. Pregnancies were inevitable. And when they happened, the girls and women were left with nowhere else to go except these institutions. In these institutions, the worst forms of abuse and neglect were systematically carried out. The scale of infant deaths is incomprehensible. It borders on mass murder. Not only was the state aware of this, but it continued to fund and manage the homes, and the religious orders profited from this horrendous cruelty and systematic abuse. That an organisation who facilitated the worst kinds of human rights violations imaginable still has any hand, act or part in our schools and hospitals is deeply disturbing. Then the government departments and church officials denied these realities, further abused survivors and opposed any chance of justice until the discovery of almost 600 babies buried in a septic tank in Tuam forced government to establish the commission. There are no words for this cascade of misogyny, abuse and criminality perpetuated against women and their children. The last thing survivors need is inadequate apologies from more men in positions of power. They deserve justice, they deserve genuine contrition from church and state, and they deserve complete and unreserved redress. The shame used to control and incarcerate women and children for the so-called crime of getting pregnant was endemic, and it was misplaced. It is time we redirect the shame to where it belongs. Shame on the people who committed these horrendous crimes. Shame on the religious orders who oversaw it. And shame on successive governments for facilitating it and condoning it. If we are to genuinely respond to this report, we must ensure survivors are given redress, that justice is vigorously pursued, and that people and organisations who committed these crimes are pursued and prosecuted. Shame on us if we settle for anything less.
Thank you, Deputy Cairns. We move now to the